to Let the Prophet Speak. Second part of the interview this week is with Minister Byron, and we get into the core of his testimony. He shares the miraculous things that happen in his life when he receives a word about going to Benny Hinn's meeting. He has a flat tire, so he has supernatural, miraculous experiences. 4 bald flat tires. He doesn't have any gas in his car. He finds a $100 bill on the ground in the rain at a gas station. State trooper stops him. There's no tag on his car. He gets to the meeting, has nowhere to stay. In a crowded parking lot, complete stranger walks up, gives him a hotel key so that he can be there for 2 days. The precursor for all of this is the Lord spoke to him, told him to go to Benny Hinn's meeting. He'd never heard the voice of God before. Heard the voice of God, followed that voice with no money, no tag, no driver's license. We don't advocate breaking the laws of the land, but how he moved in faith and the miraculous things that happened in his life, including a prophetic word of how God would use him in ministry. I know you will love this broadcast. Pull out a pen and paper, take notes. Better yet, pray about the miracles you need in your life. I'll see you at the end of the broadcast.
My God can do anything more than we can ask or think, more than we can imagine in our wildest dreams. By His blood I have been redeemed, and in His mercy He kept me. Who wouldn't let my enemies triumph over me? Oh, my God can do anything more than we can ask or think.
Time I got saved to up until this period of time, I had started watching TBN a lot, and I was watching a lot of ministers on there. So this is how I became familiar with Benny Hinn. Well, I saw on one night, actually in the middle of the night, where he was going to be in Mobile, Alabama. And so I heard the voice, and this was in my head.
Same
voice, but loud. It said, "You need to go there because I have something for you there."
Okay.
And so it was strong. It was just as strong as the day I got saved. And so I knew I had to go there. Now, mind you, my uncle, I didn't have a car. I didn't have a job at the time. I had been out of a job for about a year. I didn't have a job. My uncle had just given me a car. It was a 88 Lincoln Town car. I'll never forget it. I didn't have tag on it, didn't have insurance on it, anything on it.
So, God that knows everything, telling you to go to Mobile
I need to go
in
to
this
Mobile.
car with no tag.
I need to be there.
And no insurance.
I need to get there.
Okay. Just checking.
And the tires are bald. All 4 tires are bald, including the spare. The spare is bald as well.
Okay.
So I told my mom what I had heard. I told her, I said, I got to get to Mobile, Alabama. I have to be there because the Lord said He has something for me there. And during this time, I had been going through some things at the church. I was pretty bold at that time. So I'm challenging the pastor, and I'm challenging the ministers, and I'm challenging the deacons.
The Lord knows He needs to take you to be
on traditions and
before you tear up this church.
Yes, exactly. So I'm really challenging them. So the day I had to go, the day I was going to go, I got out in the yard with the car, and my mom was like, "You sure you're going?" I said, "The Lord told me," and I'm about to tear up. But I said, "The Lord told me that I have to be there." I said, "I have to be there." I said, "I trust Him." I said, "I'm taking this car." I said, "I know it's against the laws. I know it's against everything that we know." I said, "But I'm trusting Him. I have to be
Him being you're going to trust Lord. Jesus that He'll get you there."
I said, "I have to be there." I said, "I don't have that much money." I said, "I'm going to put it in my gas tank, and whatever's in my tank, I'm going." And so I prayed. I opened the hood. I prayed over the engine, closed the hood. I anointed the hood. I prayed over the entire car. When I got in the car, I anointed the steering wheel.
You're laughing, but we did that for years. We had this Limo when we first got married, this Vega. We prayed over that Vega. Everybody else had their engine to blow up, transmission. Mm-hmm. That thing took us to the parking lot. it tore up on the people after we drove off with an Oldsmobile. They were stuck with that. So
Yes.
God is in control of everything. There's nothing God can't take care of.
So I told my mom, I said, I'm gone. I said, I'll see you when I get back. And so I got on the road. So I got from Quincy to Chattahoochee, which is 2 more exits. I got 2 exits, and I had a flat tire. So I had to pull off into the rest area.
A flat tire with 5 ball tires.
With 5 ball tires.
Okay.
And I have a flat tire. So I had to pull into the rest area. And so, of course, now in my head is, are you crazy? You need to go back home. Put that other spare on there, go back home. You don't have a tag. You don't have insurance. All this is going through my mind. You don't have insurance, and now you have a flat tire. God doesn't want you to go there. You just, this is just things you're thinking about. And so.
So did you go back home?
No.
What did you do?
I changed the tire, and I said, God, I'm trusting you. You said I had to be there. I'm going, and I'm trusting you. So I put the tire on the car, and I got back on the road. And by the time I got to Pensacola, I'm driving, and a police officer stops me, and I'm like, oh my God. And I had been speeding. So mind you, I'm not paying attention.
Ball tires, you killed one of the ball tires,
Killed
so
one.
now you're on 4.
And I'm speeding.
Okay, you're speeding, no tag, no
Right.
insurance.
No.
You have prayed, God, you want me to get there.
Yes.
And then you speed for
And
the
I'm
police
speeding.
to stop you.
Right.
Okay.
And so the officer, he stops me. He gets out the car, and while he's coming toward the car, I start praying. I said, Lord, I said, I know I was wrong. I said, I was speeding. I said, I am wrong. I said, it's against the law to speed. I said, I'm sorry, forgive me. I said, and now, Lord, I said, you told me I had to be there. I said, I'm trusting you to get me there. I said, I won't speed again, but I'm trusting you. I said, if you can get me out of this, I will not speed again. And so the officer comes up to the car, and he said, hey, you need to slow down a little bit. Where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to a conference at Benny Hinn Conference in Mobile, Alabama. He said, Mobile? He said, well, you ain't got too much further to go. He said, just slow it down a little bit, and he walked off. And
So God makes provision to help. Yes, applaud. God makes provision to help you to get where he wants you to be. But you still had to do warfare. You still had to pray.
I had to pray.
You had to keep praying it through. But there was
Activate your faith today by taking advantage of these offers. For your gift of any size, we will send you today's teaching on CD. For your gift of $25 or more, we will send you the Elijah Task, a call to today's prophets and intercessors by John and Paula Sanford. For your gift of $60 or more, you will receive the Elijah Task book and course through Dayspring Theological Seminary. For your gift of $150 or more, you will receive the Intercessors Bundle, which includes the Elijah Task, course and book, God of My Dreams, a Dream Journal, Dream Mug, and the God of My Dreams CD series. To make a donation, contact Healing the Whole Person Ministries at 850-769-5442. Contact us via email at healingthewholeperson@comcast.net. Or you can make your payment securely through PayPal. Thank you for supporting Let the Prophet Speak and helping us reach the nations.
made it to
No,
Benny
I
Hinn.
made it all the way there.
okay.
I get there. And so I'm sitting in the parking lot. I have like a quarter tank of gas left. It's a V8. It's a 5.0 liter. So it's drinking gas. So I have a quarter tank left. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, I trust you, God. You're going to get me back home. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't have anywhere to stay. I guess I'll, change clothes here in the car and sleep in the car because, I was there for 2 days. So in the process of all of that, a guy knocks on my window and he's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm getting ready to go into the conference, Benny Hinn's conference. He said, well, I was going to go, but now I'm not. I'm going back home. But I've already paid for this hotel and it's right here. You can have my room. And he gives me, and so he gives me his room keys and he said, it's
What are
already
the
paid
chances
for.
of that? As many people are in the parking lot at a Benny.
Right.
I've been to a Benny
Yes.
Hinn's conferences
Yes.
and services. So the parking lots are
packed.
flooded
It's packed.
with cars and people.
Yes.
And out of all of those people,
He knocks on my window.
While you're sitting there thinking about, contemplating how you're willing to sleep in the car
Right.
to be in the will of God.
Right.
God directs a man to your car, knocks on your window.
Yes.
You don't know him.
Don't know
He
him,
doesn't know
never seen
you.
him.
And he offers you the very thing you need.
Yes. Which is a room. So he gives me the room, and I'm like, oh my God. So I go up to the room, and sure enough, the key works. So I changed my clothes there, and I went to the conference. The first night, nothing happened the first night. So the second night, I go back to the conference. And this night, I go in, and I said, Lord, this is the last night of the conference. I said, you said that I had to be here. I said, so I'm looking for you to speak to me here tonight. And so I volunteered to become an usher. They asked for volunteers, and I volunteered to become an usher. And in volunteering to become an usher, I ended up way up top. I mean, as high as you can get in the stadium, I was up top, and like you could barely
Probably
see.
needed binoculars to see.
Yes, it
Benny
was
from
pretty
there.
high. I was up pretty high. And so I'm sitting up there, and then this lady comes to me, and she's like, well, I had an extra seat. Ushers had an extra seat if in case they had a guest. So she's like, can you watch my mother? Because I volunteer for the choir, and my mother's blind, so I need you to watch my mother for me. I said, sure, I can watch her. I said, but we'll just be right here. When you're done, you can come back here and get her. And she said, okay. And so it goes on, service is going on, everything's happening. And so then my mind, I'm starting to think again, and I'm like, I look down, and I look over, and I look at everyone, and I was like, Lord, you said I was supposed to get something from Benny Hinn. I said, now in my foolishness, and this is how I was talking, I said, in my foolishness, I volunteered to become an usher, and as a result, I'm way up here, and I can't get to him from way up here. I said, so if he was going to give me something, there's no way I can get it up here. I said, so Lord, if you don't mind, could you please make a way so that I can get what I came here to get from Benny Hinn tonight? And as soon as I prayed that, well, I know now who he is now, but he was the head usher. He came up and he got me, and he said, I need you to come with me. And so,
Look at the power of prayer.
yes. And so he said, I need you to come with me. I'm tearing up, but so I walked down
Go
with
ahead.
him.
Feel
Yes.
free to cry if you
Yes.
need to.
So-
we may cry along with you.
So he takes me downstairs, and he's like, well, and he had like 4 or 5 other people, and he's like, I need you guys to go with me. So we go with him, and then he has us a basket, an offering basket, and I'm like, looking like, what's going on? He said, okay, well, you guys are going to collect offerings. So it's like, okay. I didn't really think anything of it. So we collect the offering, and then we end up in this room. And we're locked into this room, and we're just counting money, and there's money on top of money on top of money. And we're watching the service on the television screen, and I'm looking at the service, and now, all the healings are starting to happen, miracles are starting to happen, things are going on, and I'm looking at the screen, and I'm looking at all this money, like all of that will be over by the time we're done counting this money.
Do you understand the favor of God on your life? That you're counting money, and they don't know anything about you.
Right.
You are volunteered to be an usher. They don't know anything about you.
And I'm counting money.
They don't operate that way.
No, they don't.
That is the supernatural.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we're counting money. So I'm in there. And so then again, here's my thoughts again. And I'm like, Lord, I said, you said that I had to be here, that I'm supposed to get something from Benny Hinn. And this is exactly how I did it. I said, I'm supposed to get something from Benny Hinn. I said, well, I'm locked in a room right now, and I'm counting money. I said, there's absolutely no way I can get what I came to get from Benny Hinn being locked in this room. I said, so if you don't mind, Lord, if you can make a way for me to get out of here. So
I think we all will start saying, Lord, if you don't mind,
yes.
I need my Rolls Royce
Yes.
and the driver. And if you don't mind,
If
I
you
need
don't
a
mind,
mansion overlooking the ocean
If you
with a
don't mind.
balcony.
All right.
Better get your prayer in.
If you don't mind. And so when I finished that prayer, as soon as I finished the prayer, the door opened, and it was the head usher again, and he was like, you in the blue suit, come with me. And so I'm looking around. He said, you're the only one with a blue suit in here. You, come with me. And so I walked out of the room, and they closed the door behind me. And then now he has like a few other people there, and we're standing in a circle. He said, now when you get down there, the anointing is intense. He said, you may be able to stand. You may fall under the power of the anointing. He said, but please do your best to stand as long as you can. You're going to see people come. You're going to see people get out of wheelchairs. You're going to see people heal from blindness. You're going to see all kinds of things down there. And so I said, excuse me, down where? And he was like, we're going to the platform. We're going by the platform. I'm going to use you down by the platform. And so I'm like, oh my God. So this, I don't even know how to describe it, but this feeling just rushes over me into my whole body's like numb. I'm going down there. And so he's like, okay, let's go.
You ask God to get close,
Yes.
and then you're shocked when he does it.
Yes, I was shocked. And so then the usher's like, you stay close to me. And so I was like, okay. So we get there and we're at the platform. And so I'm leading people up onto the platform. And it is, like he said, it was intense. The anointing was high in there. It was just amazing. And so in the process of this, people are coming through the line, and I'm asking people like, where did you get healed from? What happened? Did you get a healing? What's going on? And so one guy was like, well, I came in here on this oxygen tank. I'm not on this tank anymore. One lady was like, I came in that wheelchair over there. I'm not in that chair anymore. And so, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, this could have been staged. It could be real. It might not be real. But, and then all of a sudden, the lady that I was watching, the mother that I was watching that was blind, and I knew she was blind because I had to lead her to the bathroom. I had to lead her everywhere to get water everywhere. And all of a sudden, she's standing in the line, and I'm looking at her, and she's like, I said, oh my God, you're the blind lady, is what I say. And she says, yes, she said, I'm healed. I got my healing. And she screamed, she said, I can see you. And you got on a blue suit. And she's just going. And I'm like, everything ended. And I'm standing there. And this little old lady, she comes up to me. And she's like, I have this letter. I need to give this to Benny Hinn. And so I'm like, okay. I'm an usher. So I'm like, then I hear this voice say, tell her yes. And so I'm like.
Activate your faith today by taking advantage of these offers. For your gift of any size, we will send you today's teaching on CD. For your gift of $25 or more, we will send you the Elijah Task, a call to today's prophets and intercessors by John and Paula Sanford. For your gift of $60 or more, you will receive the Elijah Task book and course through Dayspring Theological Seminary. For your gift of $150 or more, you will receive the Intercessors Bundle, which includes the Elijah Task, course and book, God of My Dreams, a Dream Journal, Dream Mug, and the God of My Dreams CD series. To make a donation, contact Healing the Whole Person Ministries at 850-769-5442. Contact us via email at healingthewholeperson@comcast.net. Or you can make your payment securely through PayPal. Thank you for supporting Let the Prophet Speak and helping us reach the nations.
So this is the third time you've heard this voice.
Said, tell her yes, you can get it to him. And so I said, just kind of squinching. And so I said, yes, I can get it to him. I said, I can. She said, are you sure? She said, because this is very important for him in his ministry. This is a word that he needs to have for his ministry. He's going to have some attacks, and he needs to be aware of the attacks that are about to come to him.
She told you all of that?
She told me all of that. She said, and he needs to know this, and it is in this letter. And so I'm like, yes, I can get it to him. So I'm holding the letter. She's gone. And so I'm standing there, and they're starting to tear down chairs. People are leaving the building, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I said, I can't get this to her. And I said, well, Lord, I started praying again. I said, Lord, you told me that I had to be here, that I was supposed to get something from Benny Hinn. I said, and there again, if you don't mind, Lord, make a way. If you don't mind.
So
I use that
prayer
so
and
many
faith
times.
is the catalyst that God has
Yes.
used from
Yes.
introducing you to salvation.
So I said, make a way, Lord. Make a way for me. I said, I need, and now I'm more concerned about getting him the letter as opposed to me getting what I came to get. Because I wanted to get him that letter.
Helping someone else.
Right. So I was like, I got to get him this letter. So I said, if you don't mind, Lord, make a way. And so all of a sudden someone touches me on my shoulder, and I turn around. And I don't know if any of you know Steve Brock. He sings a lot with Benny Hinn. It was Steve Brock, and he was tapping me on my shoulder. And he points up to the platform, and it's Benny Hinn's wife, Suzanne. She's up there, and she's like, come here. And so I was like, me? She was like, you. I mean, come here. So I go up there, and I said, before you say anything, I said, can you please get this to your husband? I said, a lady gave me this letter. She told me it was important that he gets this letter. I said, this has to be put in his hands and no one else's hands.
So you're an advocate for a complete stranger.
Yes.
Just because you gave this lady your word.
Yes. And so I said, he has to get, she said, I will make, she said, I'm going to the room. As soon as I leave here, I will put it in his hands. And so I said, okay. So I gave her the letter. And so she looks at me. She said, you've been battling tradition. And she said, you've been really battling tradition where you are. And she said, there was a reason that you were supposed to battle tradition. She said, but the Lord is getting ready to pull you out of tradition and set you in a new place where you can learn and where you can grow. And you're going to stay there until he tells you to move again. And so I'm standing there. She said, and the way you're going to know where you're supposed to be is when you get back home, you're going to have a letter. You will have received a letter from a pastor that preaches on television, and his mother will be ministering at this church, and that is the church you are supposed to go to until the Lord moves you again. And so I'm listening, and then so she prays, and then I fall out. I'm just gone. I pass
Slain
out.
under
I'm
the power.
slain. I'm gone.
And this is Suzanne.
This is Suzanne.
Okay.
And so she tells him, pick him up. So she picks me up. I fall out 7 times. 7 times I'm down. And the 7th time when I come to, they're all gone. They're not there anymore. They're gone. And the guy wakes me up, and he's like, you need to get up. We got to tear this platform down. So we're on the way out. Then there's Mike Murdoch. He's like, I have all these books. I need to get rid of these books. He said, I'm not going to take them back with me. You want these books? I was like,
Yes.
okay, sure. So he gives them to me. He said, it's on finance. If you start reading this and studying this stuff, it'll help you get out of debt. He said, and give it out to whoever you come into contact with. Just give them a book. So I said, okay. So I'm heading to my car, and right next to me there's 3 women there. One is in a wheelchair, and 2 are standing up. I found out later that they were the daughters, and she was the mother in the wheelchair. And she said, it looks like you got what you came to get. And I said, yes, ma'am, I did. I got exactly what I came to get. And so she said, well, I didn't get what I came to get. She said, but I said I was going to, before I left here, I was going to get it. I said, well, you haven't left yet. And she said, excuse me? I said, you haven't left yet. I said, you said you were going to get what you came to get. And I said, I assume that's a healing.
So now, not only is your faith working for you, now your faith is working for someone else to convince her. You actually gave this woman a word without knowing it, that you haven't left yet.
Yes. So you haven't left
telling her
yet.
you're going to get it.
Yes. So I'm like, it's not too late. I said, you're still here. I said, so if you want your healing, you can get your healing. And she's looking at it. And so she told her daughter, she said, help me out of this chair. And so I'm looking at her, and they're like, Mom, come on, let's go. We're going to put you in the car and go. She said, help me out of this chair. And so they came over. She was persistent with it, and they came over. And so they helped her out of the chair. And so then they started taking some steps with her, and they were, she was weak. You could tell she was weak, but she started taking some steps. And then she said, turn me loose. And they were like, no, you're going to fall. She said, turn me loose. So then she took some more steps. And then she walked all the way over to the car. And then she got in the car. And she said, let's go. And they were like, what about your wheelchair? She said, leave it.
Wow.
And so I get in the car, and I'm going through the thought process again. I only have a quarter tank of gas, and I got to get home. So I get on the road. I'm driving. Gas light comes on. Stop at a gas station. I call my mom, collect. And I tell my mom, I said, well, I'm out of gas. I said, but I'm trusting God. I said, he told me I had to be here, and I know he's going to get me home. I said, so I'm trusting God to make a way for me some kind of way. And so I'm just talking to her on the phone. And in the process of talking to her on the phone, I look down on the ground. I'm on a payphone outside. I look down on the ground, and there's a puddle of water, probably about that big. And in this puddle of water is a $100 bill floating in this water. And I dropped the phone. I told my mom, I said, hold on. And I dropped the phone, and I picked it up, and I couldn't believe it. And it was a $100 bill, and it was brand new, and it wasn't wet. It was in this water, but it wasn't wet. And so I said, oh my God. I said, I just found $100. I'm coming home. I said, let me get gas. I said, I'll see you in about 8 in the morning. So I get on I fill up the tank. It was a real $100 bill. I filled up the tank. Amen. So I fill up the tank and I'm driving home. And on the way home, there's a car following me. And it's following me for about 30 plus miles. And it's just following me. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm looking in my mirror and I'm like, why is I slow down, they won't pass me. Speed up, they speed up. So I'm like, what in the world is going on? So finally, the lights come on, and they pull me over. It's the cops. It's a state trooper. I was like, oh, my God. I said, well, Lord. I said,
What's our prayer?
I said, I wasn't speeding this time, Lord. So I said, but you know what? I'm trusting you again. I said, you did all these other things. I said, but I'm trusting you again to get me home. The cop comes up to the car. And he said, I've been following you for about 30-something miles. He said, you weren't speeding or anything. He said, but I was running your tag. And he said, I don't understand this. I don't get this. He said, when I ran your tag, I'm sorry.
Oh, no apology necessary. We're praising God here.
He said, when I ran your tag, the only thing came back was Jesus. Wow. He said, it just kept coming back on the screen. He said, I don't understand this. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going back to Quincy. He said, be safe. Don't speed. I'll call ahead and let people know you're coming so that nobody bothers you.
Praise Jesus.
And so I got home. And then when I got home, my mom said, you received a letter in the mail. I was like, she said, it came on Saturday. I said, Saturday? She said, yeah. She said, it's from Rod Parsley. I said, Rod Parsley? I said, okay. So I opened it, and it says, Ellen Parsley, my mother, will be preaching at Christian Heritage Church in Tallahassee, Florida. And I want you to go out and support her. And so I went to Christian Heritage, and she was ministering there.
And that was the fulfillment
That
of
was
the
the
prophecy
fulfillment of
that
the prophecy from Suzanne gave me.
That
there
when
would
you
be
get
a letter.
home,
Right.
there would be a letter.
There would be a letter. It would be from a television evangelist, and you know, that's his mom. She said his mom would be ministering.
What a detailed gift she had.
It was very detailed.
I know you enjoyed this broadcast, especially all of the times that Minister Byron was praying. Prayer is just a simple conversation with Jesus Christ, looking for his divine intervention in earthly matters. And this broadcast of this man's testimony was sprinkled with signs, miracles, divine intervention, prophecy. You hear the conclusion of what happened in his life. My best part, or the favorite part about this, is that we are not an exception. Well, he's not an exception. God will do the same thing for you. He cares so much about your life that he will speak and guide you. Look for the word of the Lord in your life. Dedicate your life to Jesus Christ, and join us again on Let the Prophet Speak.